Hey guys, this is Chris Napoltz.
And this is David. We are
Drop Disgusta.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, we are powered by Amplified Events. To learn more about the great work they do, visit ampyourevent.com.
We would also like to thank and welcome our digital marketer, Aaron Talent.
If you're a fan of the show, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Drop Disgusta Podcast.
And whatever you're doing this week, make sure you hashtag drop the dis.
Here's the show.
Welcome to Drop Disgusta, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David.
And I'm Chris.
And we are here at American Journeyman today.
Yes.
But before we talk about that, we have got to talk to you guys about what we did this weekend.
Yes, we Ragtime was showing.
We ragtimed it up.
Yes, it was incredible. Great. It was
It was not what I expected.
Russell Joel Brown did not give us the full premise of the plot.
I think he undersold it.
We did not know he was going to die. But it was
it's already
play.
over. I was like, we're going to give away
It's already over.
It's over.
It's over. It was this weekend.
This is the craziest thing. I was literally in shock at the end of the play.
There's a lot of sorrow, but it was incredible. The fact that it's all volunteer-based. It's incredible production.
Over 100 volunteers.
Yes.
I mean, they were all good. That's a crazy
incredible. And what's crazy is there's a lot of Broadway retirees that actually travel with Broadway that are living and retired in Augusta.
Yeah.
They chose, of all the places they went in their career, they chose to reside in
And I guess
Augusta.
that's the result you get.
Yeah.
It's a great show.
Exactly. So with Russell Joel Brown and Scott Seidel, they made an incredible production.
And shout out to the Miller for hosting the speakeasy party.
That was really cool.
They had candy cigarettes, which I had to buy and pretend to smoke.
Hold on. I had to buy them for you.
Well, you did buy them for me.
You're not old enough.
But I asked for them. Apparently in the 20s they didn't take card, and they were kind of serious about that.
Yes.
So... But anyways, so that was our weekend. We had a great time.
Yep.
But we are here today.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry.
Shoot.
We are going to... Don't worry what it congratulations to all the Ironman athletes.
Congratulations to
Seriously.
Ironman athletes. I could not park for 2 whole days, but it was worth it because Ironman is awesome.
Yes. I was out of town, but I saw tons of people posting about it. It looked like it was... I mean, we had to have more than last year.
Yeah, shout out to Augusta Sports Leagues putting together...
Sports Council.
There's also a sports leagues, right. Keith Edmonton. But yeah, shout out to Augusta Sports Council for putting literally thousands of people in Augusta for a weekend. That is crazy, and I'm sure that local business owners, which we will talk to one very shortly, saw benefit from that.
Right.
Let's see, are we missing anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Shout out to Riverwatch Brewery. We have beer from Riverwatch Brewery today.
Yep.
We are drinking the Murphy's Law and the Through the Green. I like the branding on the Through the Green.
It's not bad. I personally love the brown spice.
The brown spice?
Ale, yeah, it's not bad.
The 5.5 is a solid place to start.
Yes.
Solid place to start. So now that we've made it
now
to
we
all
can
of
do
that,
this.
Now we can introduce our guest, who is...
Hey everybody, I am Amanda Bryan. I am the owner of American Journeyman downtown at 970 Broad Street.
That is who you are, absolutely. And we are upstairs, and where are we right now?
So we are actually in the top floor of the building at 970 Broad Street. The entire building is 3,700 square feet. The top floor is 1,000 square feet. And this space is going to become the design studio. One of the areas of American Journeyman that we haven't fully branched into yet is our ability to do custom furniture. So up here is essentially going to be a showroom that has leather samples, fabric samples, different nail head trim leg styles. And so that's what this upstairs is going to be used for.
And that was some very solid foreshadowing. We're going to get to a lot of that later. But first, we want to talk about you.
I want to know about you.
We need to know about you.
All right. Well.
So how did you get to where you are today?
So
it's such a deep question.
It's such a deep question. But
take as long as you want.
She can answer however she wants. That's what I like about it.
Well, I think just like anything else in life, it is a evolving process. It certainly wasn't like, hey, childhood dream, I want to be a retail store owner. It's something that definitely evolved over time.
Okay.
My entire family has generally been military. I'm 7th generation military. My father did 27 years, retired full bird colonel. My older sister, there's just the two of us. She is a lieutenant colonel in the Army, and I am also a major in the United States Army.
Wow.
And that was, I think that I kind of defaulted into the Army because it's really the only life that I knew. And I knew what a wonderful provider it was for families. Definitely was interesting to me. And, once I got that ROTC scholarship to college, that just kind of set the fate. And maybe I was a little too lazy to explore anything else as well once I kind of started down that path.
Once someone hands you free college, it's hard to tell
them
no.
Yeah. But it really, it just really meant a lot to me. And I enjoyed my service tremendously. I still do. But over time, after 4 combat deployments and a variety of other overseas tours and some really tough tactical assignments, I was in the 82nd Airborne Division, 101st Airborne Division. So I don't know how much you know about military, but I'm an Airborne Air Assault Pathfinder, which is unique for a woman.
Tell us what you did.
I'm an intelligence officer.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and so...
Is that how you got here?
Well, this is actually my hometown, so... Yeah,
okay.
this is my hometown.
So you traveled, you came back.
Yeah, and I like to joke that Fort Gordon is actually my hometown because I was actually born on Fort Gordon before they started sending births out. So my birth certificate says, Fort Gordon, Georgia.
That's crazy.
That is where I was born on that
really
zip code. And my parents actually met and married on Fort Gordon. My mom was one of the first women ever commissioned into the Army. Because before it was the Women's Army Corps, and then they started letting women in the early 1970s. So they met and married on Fort Gordon. My dad's second time through, I was born here. And then his third time through, he retired, which was just after my senior year in high school. And so that's why Augusta is the most home that I've ever known. I've also had 2 of my own military tours here. So...
Gotcha.
So this is home. And my mom unfortunately passed of brain cancer in 2017, and that started just a kind of a big change in, is this what I really want for my life? I was tired of moving around. I was really having some kind of anxiety stresses from all the deployments, and I was like, maybe it's time to just go home and take a knee. And
so where were you before you decided to come home?
Immediately before here I was up in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
Yeah. So definitely, it's funny when people come into the store because they kind of get like a city type store vibe, and I think a lot of that is from the type of stores I was exposed to, especially around the Washington D.C. area. And so I just made my way back home and went into a program in the reserves that allows me to still maximize my benefits and continue to serve because I'm.
So you're still in the reserves now?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So I still have 4 more years to finish up. So
you were in Washington, D.C. before this. So when people complain about driving here, you're just like...
no.
Like, wow, you guys...
There's no parking down here.
But it's nothing. But I tell you what, I am a pay-for-convenience type person.
Okay.
So the place that I chose to live, it was pretty high rent, but I was able to door to door walk out of my apartment into the Pentagon in 11 minutes because I am not messing with that 395 traffic.
So you walked to work in Washington,
I
D.C.
did.
Smart, yeah.
And for a short period of time, I was at Fort Belvoir, which is near there, but because of where I was living, I had a basically reverse commute, so I was going against traffic every day. While everybody's coming into the district, I was heading away from it. And it's strategy, my friends, because I am not a morning person.
Location.
Exactly. And so anything that can give me, even 30 seconds extra time in the morning, I'm doing it. So
I get that. I definitely feel that.
I am definitely a morning person.
Like put the snooze alarm, like, all right.
Where you're coming from.
Yeah. No, I wish I were a morning person.
Honestly, being military, that's quite shocking.
Yeah.
I never took to it. You get up early, especially in those tactical assignments, because you have no choice. The repercussions are not worth sleeping in for. I assure you.
That's fair. Sure.
But it's just I've always been a sleeper. I am a sleeper, and even when it comes to my personal style, this is I don't have time for it in the morning.
Right.
I will take extra.
You got the T-shirt. You got the slacks.
Totally.
We're comfy.
Super T-shirt and jeans kind of girl, and
Heck yeah.
that's a really more of a time saving aspect. It gives me more time in the sack.
As you can see, I wore short shorts and chacos to work today, so I think we're on the same page.
Nice that you have a job that allows you to do that.
I actually dressed up for this
He
podcast
did.
because I'm a PE teacher, and I wear literally dry
Gym
fit
shorts,
shorts and dry fit tee, and I'm in tennis shoes every day.
Well, thank you for putting on a collar for me. I'm sorry I did not do the same.
Now that Aaron is
Now I feel very unprofessional.
Now that Aaron's with us, she takes pictures of us. I can't look like a bum. I can't look like a PE.
Oh, so you're saying I'm a bum because I'm not wearing a collar shirt?
Sorry, I can't look like a PE teacher. That's what I'm saying.
He's trying to market himself.
Yeah, not really.
So you moved back to Augusta, and if you don't mind telling us, what area did you decide to go to? Like Old Town, West Augusta?
I'm in Summerville. I've actually owned a home in Summerville since 2010.
Okay.
So,
and that's when you moved back, 2010?
No. It was, so I bought a house in 2010 and never lived in it. I actually bought it, no kidding, while I was in Afghanistan, because it was a very normal thing for me to do that. I constantly read the Augusta Chronicle and was just looking, because you're looking for that feeling of home all the time when you're away.
I'm sure.
And this home that I have, it's something that I loved for a long time, and it popped up as available when I was overseas. I negotiated the whole thing over the phone, bought it sight unseen, which I don't recommend with a historic house.
Yeah.
But I thought at the time I was going to make my way back home right after that deployment, and then Army had different plans, so I just started renting it out immediately.
Yeah.
And so it's funny to come home and start living in a house that I'd owned for 8 years at that point and never stepped foot in maybe twice.
So you bought the house in 2002?
10.
2010, but you moved here in 2018 then?
Very end of 17.
End of 17.
Yes.
Okay, so you're fresh back. Mm-hmm. What have you been doing since you got back?
Well, I had a year at Fort Gordon and a different assignment with an intelligence organization on post, and over that time I just started developing American Journeyman. So the idea of it had started up in D.C., but the building of it happened once I started coming back here.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the idea? How did what was the inception point of American Journeyman?
I have two wonderful friends who are entrepreneurs up in D.C. and also military affiliated. Doug is former Marine. Stacia she's also former Marine, but she's now in the Army. And Doug, he owns a gym up in Manassas, Virginia, and a couple other businesses. He just started making knives. Wow. Attention to detail is their company. They're fantastic. And we were just having a BS session in the pool one day, and I'm kind of having one of these like drinking beers, what am I doing with my life moments, and they just started asking me these really poignant questions about my interests. Mm-hmm. And the things that I've always been interested in have been vintage and antique goods. Mm-hmm. And it really just kind of had that light bulb moment of why not? Why couldn't I own my own business? It just kind of hadn't really kind of given myself permission to consider the fact that I can do something else.
Right.
If that makes sense. And so first I started just playing with the antiques and vintage business, and over time I realized that, as this evolved and it became a reality, that vintage and antiques was going to be a challenge to maintain inventory for, and I also wanted a niche. I wanted something to differentiate me a little bit, and that's how bringing in new retail, specializing in American manufacturing, because the whole patriotic element is innate to me.
Right.
And then it just kind of evolved from there with the construct of the store.
Wow. Okay.
You picked a heck of a time to bring a new store to Augusta, especially the downtown area. And did everything land on your lap, or was there a lot of work that you had to do to make this happen, or
both?
I'm just curious.
Both.
Before we get into that, let's take a break real quick.
Okay.
We'll be right back, and we're going to talk more about how you started American Journeyman and where it came from.
Quick thank you to our audio sponsor today, Amplified Events. Amplified Events has been raising the bar on entertainment in the CSRA since 2014. Not only do they provide DJ and MC services, but they also do professional lighting, photo booths, karaoke, game show hosting, and just about anything that your next event needs. Check them out for your next event, be it a wedding, corporate function, or private event, because they will definitely amp up any occasion. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram at Amplified Events AUG, by phone at 706-810-0267, and online at ampyourevent.com. That's ampyourevent.com.
And we're back. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us through that.
Yeah. So what I was asking was, was it you're opening your store 2018, 2019?
And when did you officially open?
So our ribbon cutting was actually
It just happened.
Yeah, on
Right.
the 6th of September. So we were open for about 7 weeks before that, and for a soft opening where I was just
So literally like end of July, early August.
Yeah, June 21st
Wow.
was the day that we opened for the soft opening period.
Okay, gotcha.
And how has opening up a new store that really is a new idea in Augusta, American made stuff only? How has that has Augusta helped? Has it been easy? Have there been ups and downs? How has it?
Yeah.
How has Augusta affected this?
I have been blown away by the support and encouragement from other business owners, especially downtown. And I will tell you that downtown Augusta wasn't necessarily my first choice. I always had a feel for it, a vibe for it, and I was one of those when I was younger. This was always my stomping ground and where I wanted to be. But I definitely explored other places to put the business, to include Aiken.
Wow.
So
where did you look at, if you don't mind telling us?
Surrey Center, definitely.
Okay.
I considered a couple places in Columbia County, but it just really wasn't. My vibe is vintage. You need to have that sense of history with it, and there's so much new construction and development in Columbia County. I don't think my model would have fit.
A little bit of a clash.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have my stuff is a little gritty, and downtown's a little gritty, and we're kind of a match made in heaven, and but I did explore those other options. You should do your due diligence,
Right.
But this location is when you're kind of asking about, did it drop into your lap or was it work? Well, this location has actually some personal meaning and did kind of drop into my lap. Because my mom and I, when I was in college, we'd actually come in and tried in hats. She loved hats, so I actually have a picture with my mom, in this very store when it was Crosby's, with us trying on hats when I was about 19 years old.
And that's incredible. The Crosby's sign.
Yes, absolutely.
Sign.
I mean,
why do you do that?
A couple different reasons. One, it's iconic. It's gorgeous. It's something that is known to the downtown community. And this building has been Crosby's Ladies Ready to Wear since it first opened in 1930. So this building was built in 1929. And so since part of the American Journeyman story is not only the American manufacturing, there's preservation through retail, essentially. And so historic preservation is really important to part of our mission. So it's iconic to downtown. It's important to the community. It's gorgeous. It fits our vibe and our mission.
Great. Did you have to do anything to it?
Just wipe it down,
That's it?
get it hung. Yeah. Wow. But I was very intent in keeping the exact same angle that it was actually hung outside the building. So that way, when people see it, not only are they getting to kind of experience the sign, it is, displayed in the exact same way that it was on the original facade. That's awesome. I will say that is actually a 1960 remodel. But although the original,
it's pretty new.
Well, I mean, the original, I actually have a picture downstairs. I can show you guys of the store in about the early 1940s with the Model T in front, and
I would love
still
to see that.
It's still a very curvy original script. So it always
I would love
had
to post that picture, honestly, with the Model T in front.
Yeah. Make sure you guys get a copy.
Sweet,
that'd be awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you started American Journeyman 7-8 weeks ago. You just did your hard opening,
and we don't want to jinx anything. Just want to get that out of the way.
Yeah, we're prefacing the right. Yeah, everything's going well. Beautiful place, and you're working on. You touched on this earlier. We're upstairs, and upstairs is not a retail area. So what is going to go on here, or what goes on here?
Well, it will be a retail area in the sense that you can purchase furniture, but
Gotcha.
it's the custom aspect of it that's unique to the upstairs. So we really want to get the word out, especially to local interior designers, that we are here as a resource. So the company that we work with and the factory that we work with in Hickory, North Carolina, we're really the only sort of place in the CSRA that you can customize to the level we can. Okay. So a lot of places, you can get kind of quote unquote custom furniture, but there's sort of pick from a limited selection of fabrics, whereas we can change configurations, we can change, leg styles, the finishes, nail head trim. We can even do custom nail head trim. So for any commercial, corporate entity out there that may want to actually have their logo on nail head trim on a club chair in your office, we can do that.
Very specific.
Very, yeah. So this is just, it's, we can take those orders now, but the actual putting together of the design center has just been backburnered for a second. We will probably host a trade night in the beginning of January to all local interior designers and people of the trade.
And you'll have to keep us updated so we can make sure that people know when that's going on.
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
Mm-hmm.
Please.
Absolutely.
So when you say custom furniture, I was asking you about this earlier off mic. I always want to say off camera. Off mic. And you were telling me about the different types of couches that there are. Mm-hmm. I only thought there was one type of couch. And so I would like...
No, there's two. There's comfy and not comfy.
Okay. So
is that like there's red wine and white wine?
Yeah, exactly.
Got you. You're that kind of guy. Okay.
So with that being said, I want to give people an example of like how much detail goes into this. Because like, you think custom furniture, I think your average person is thinking like, what color is it? Like, what design is it? So, like, how many different types of couches are there?
Oh, well, okay. So that's a lot. I mean, I guess I wouldn't know how to give you a specific number.
Well,
I would say there's some general.
Literally, April Henry King is wanting to slap you right now. Literally.
I hope so.
Now, I mean, if you kind of bracket it in categories, you can downsize it by saying, there's contemporary and mid-century and traditional. So there's those larger buckets. Mm-hmm. But when you get into, so for instance, your favorite downstairs, the Chesterfield, that would fit in a traditional category, but there's a ton of other named styles that would fit in those categories. But regardless of what type of style suits you, we have access to all of those kind of frames that whether it is a mid-century modern style or you want something contemporary or you do want something traditional, we can do any of them.
So what would you recommend for a podcast studio?
Ooh, good question.
One like this. This is. I would say this is a vintage. This is a well-loved, worn piece that I think this might be in your price range.
As long as it doesn't squeak. No squeaking, and we're fine.
We need squeaking, we need posture assistance, and I think we're pretty good at that.
This is actually funny that this piece actually came from our friends at Redemption Church that are a couple doors over. This was actually this was in their teen center for a while, and they just needed to move it out. So they're honestly just rolling it down the street, kind of like, hey, you want this thing? I'm like, yeah, man, just bring it upstairs.
Hey,
so this is not. I just want to clarify for your listeners. This is not an American Journeyman custom piece.
And when you say this, we're going to post pictures of this.
Absolutely,
couch.
This glorious brown retro.
The couch that she is sitting on.
Yeah, if you're listening and you're confused right now, check the Instagram because we'll have a picture of the couch on the Instagram.
Oh, it's rad in its own way.
And I can't tell you when I was in college how many different. Vintage couches that I had. Yes. So I definitely understand that.
Moving on.
I do want to talk about this actually. The coasters we're using, they had a really cool story. I'd like you to tell that again. If
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the coasters that we are using here are actually slices of wood from the original banister of the Miller Theater. So when we're talking about sort of history preservation through retail.
Yeah.
I know that sounds kind of odd, but
it sounds like a weird spacey concept, so we're trying to make it real now.
Exactly. So I think that, over time, we lose our stories. American society is very forward-thinking minded. We are here and now and future-oriented.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's why we have some of the greatest innovators in the entire world. Mm-hmm. But it's also why we have a decline in manufacturing, because people want more thinking and less doing.
Right.
And this notion for me of kind of keeping these historic elements in play you can work that in through retail, and this is exactly one of those reasons, and one of those types of pieces. So a lot of the things that we have downstairs, be it our Resist Invasion banner that actually has an entire story from the Augusta Arsenal, which is now Augusta University campus. Some of our pennants
Really?
are I could take up your whole podcast.
Right.
But the historic elements, and the Hollingsworth sign that's in the center down there, that of course was an old Augusta candy company who in its heyday was on par with Whitman Sampler. So
Where did you get all this stuff?
it's
That
just-
was my next question. We're on the same page here. I'm like, where did the banister come from? This is crazy.
It's so some of it is stuff that I have just collected myself for years, because I
Wow.
said that vintage and antiques has been my jam since forever. The light fixtures that line the store, those green and white globes, came from an old Irish pub in Manhattan that closed in the 1960s. I bought those probably like 5.5 years ago, and they've just been sitting in a box,
It's like, this
not
is a
wired.
good investment.
Yeah, it's trust me, any antiquer knows. Sometimes you just come across something and it is a gut feeling. You don't know why you need it. You can't put your finger on it. You don't know what you're going to do with it, but you know you need it, and there's no going. And I mean, those globes were one of those things for me. And the Hollingsworth sign was something that I came across actually when I was in D.C., and it was recovered from an old timer in the woods in North Carolina who was using it for roofing material. I kid you not.
Wow.
But people in North Carolina and D.C. would have no association with Hollingsworth, but me being an Augustan, I knew its history. And really, there are so many interesting things that if you take the time to explore, when you give an item meaning and a story with it, it suddenly becomes infinitely more interesting. And that's one of the things that I really find, words have meaning, and the word value, I think, is really important to kind of break down. It
There's
is
a lot that
because
goes into it.
because in modern retail, value has kind of come to mean discount, like great value, and that's
What's
some
that
of
Walmart brand? Great value.
yeah. Well, I wasn't gonna drop any names, but that's one of those things. So,
they're not
so people
listening.
have started to think that.
They don't care.
But value doesn't mean that discount. Value is an emotional appeal. So now, like before, if I just had these in a boxes in the corner, maybe you thought they were a little cheap, but whatever.
These are the coasters.
But, right. The coasters that we're talking about. But
I would have thought it was like some man with a hat.
yeah.
Or now that I know it's the
you,
top of a banister from the Miller.
Now I won't.
Now, exactly
Now I
right. Right. And that is how you attribute value to things, by knowing their story. And then you start caring for the things that you have more when they mean something.
I have
And
an
that's what
idea
we
for
want in
these.
this business.
When people go to this store, something that I have heard is that the prices are high. I'm sure that has been brought up to you, and I want to know how you respond to that when people talk about it with you.
One, they may not be my customer, which no offense, and no offense. It's just that they may not be my customer.
So you have a target audience.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Every business
Of course,
has a
of course.
customer demographic. And I'm not calling anybody cheap out there. I'm just saying this may not be your store.
Right.
Because people that do see the value in the product and the quality in the product, and have that, again, like I said, that emotional appeal to the value of American made, the price doesn't bother them.
Okay.
So that's one. The other thing is we have also been indoctrinated to this cheap culture. I mean, we have. And as American,
We already shouted Walmart out.
yeah, well, and so look, there is a place for convenience and kind of low quality disposable goods. Like, we all have a need for them in some capacity. But when American manufacturing, that's again part of this story that we're trying to tell. There's been a massive decline in American manufacturing since the 1960s, and it has dropped every single decade. A large amount. When you think, if you can kind of go back in time, even though you weren't born, none of us were born yet, but pre-1960, people just built stuff well, and then they took care of it. They didn't have I'm just going to grab and throw it out, grab it, throw it out, grab it, throw it out, everything. Like some of our local craft stores. Again, I'm not going to name names, but I lose my mind when I see the seasonal stuff come around. This mass-produced, to me, low quality, just stuff. And I'm
Right.
like, why? When did we get away from just decorating with real pumpkins
even
and gourds
like
and stuff like
Hobby
that? You know,
Lobby. Hobby Lobby or Michael's, stuff like that.
You guys, I'm gonna let you guys keep throwing the names out. But
they're not going to listen to this.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Right.
So I think that our culture is so used to that cheap, foreign made purchasing mentality.
Right.
You're not used to actually experiencing a quality good, and the reason that our goods cost more, American made cost more, is because we have less places producing the materials. We expect to pay an American worker a fair wage. We expect to pay them for safe working conditions. And, all of that comes into play to the price of the product. So if you value supporting American family businesses and American workers, because another thing, too, is when you talk about discount culture, we feel so good about ourselves when we save money on something, but then what? You got this little void in your soul. It's like, man, I need a good cause. So I'm just going to start donating money to, this or whatever, and it's like we continually look for a good cause to then redistribute our money to. I mean, assuming you can afford it, but buying American-made goods is kind of one-stop shopping.
Right.
You get a good product and you're supporting a good cause.
And I'll add on to that. My wife and I, we're all about budgeting. But when it comes to local, we don't really care. It's kind of one of those things we're giving back to the community. So in the same aspect, we're giving back to the country.
Exactly.
So I'm just, that's kind of, that thing, hearing you say that, it really does bring it full circle back to already, support local. In Augusta, you hear that a lot, support local. I mean, you got local businesses only downtown.
Hashtag love Augusta.
Yeah, love Augusta. That's part of loving Augusta, but
Yeah.
I mean, hashtag love America.
Yeah.
Seriously, I guess that's another way to think about it for people to put it in perspective.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that is a great note to go into our next commercial break on, unless you have any other questions.
Oh, I need another beer.
I know that's a perfect note,
and that's why, and she needs to keep drinking her beer.
And yeah, so as Chris gets a beer, we will be right back.
Yeah.
Once again, we want to give a shout out to our audio sponsor, Amplified Events. Amplified Events is a local entertainment company that prides themselves in taking any event to the next level. They specialize in weddings, corporate events, private parties, and anything else you can think of, including and especially featuring employee appreciation events and coming soon, holiday parties. Check them out on their website, ampyourevent.com, and their phone number is 706-810-0267.
And we're back. I got my beer. I got another Riverwatch spiced brown ale.
You're looking at that like the sign didn't come off in the cooler.
It actually did. I
know it did.
I just wiped it off. So
It's been white labeled.
anyways, we always ask our guests a question.
One final
question. It's the same one for everybody. What does dropping the disc from Augusta mean to you?
So I've definitely listened to, I listened to the podcast and I listened to what your other...
Thank you.
You're welcome. Shout out, drop the discs. But, one of your previous speakers, participants, I guess.
Guests.
Yes, there we
Yes.
go. That's the word.
That's what you are.
Mentioned that sometimes people just don't know what to do in Augusta. I agree with that. But there's also a little bit more to it to me because... I'm definitely more of I'm more of a fighter than a lover. So the whole, peace, love, community, all that kind of stuff, that's great. And it is 100% true. And I am 100% on board with that. You do have to love your community. But I do think it's a little bit of a modern thought process to think, well, if we just don't call something, and we just don't use a certain word, then that'll just kind of clean it up and make it go away. That's not the way I see dropping the disc. For me, it's understanding how did it get there in the first place. And Augusta, Richmond County has made, systemically bad decisions since the late 1960s.
Right.
There's a lot of opportunities that have not been taken. There's just a lot of, blight and just, as I said, bad decisions being made. We've had... there's a lot of issues with, be it nepotism or cronyism or, just flat out corruption in the government. And I know that may sound kind of like jarring, when so many people are just kind of interested in talking about the neighborly love and community aspect, which is important. But for me, you got to get to the belly button of what's going on in our city government. And for me, it's fantastic to have this community support, and the private citizen is what's making downtown successful right now. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
It's not the government. But I will tell you, as a business owner, why do I have to pay to pressure wash my sidewalk? Why do I have to? I'm just about to go out and repaint my parking zone so that people don't park in front of the store. Things like that. It's like the city government and our citizens need to get involved in the policy decisions and affect change from within there. I think that disc got earned for a while.
Right.
We are making wonderful strides to change that, but I do think that there has been some disheartening things, some disappointing things, and I think it's also a youthful mindset about the Disgusta, because you don't really hear a lot of adults saying it. It is a little bit more of a younger, kind of thing to say. But for a long time, there really wasn't that much entertainment to do, except to kind of go get in trouble a little bit. So we are correcting it, and that love and community and people talking about it. Like I said, it is important. But for me, it's understanding why it got there in the first place and digging into those, municipal issues that need to be fixed from the inside.
Right.
It sounds like you want people to get involved.
Absolutely. I mean,
not
it's
just
on the
get
same
involved
page.
with
Go
hashtagging Love Augusta.
No.
Actually getting involved.
write your commissioner, write your mayor, go to the meetings. I think vote, vote. Do not.
That one's
if
easy.
let me tell you this: if we have another election come and go where somebody defaults into a position because nobody challenged them to run, we are not making the progress that we think we are. Every single election should be a competition, and people should be voting for the best candidate and not letting them just default into the position.
I'm a political science major, so we could actually talk about this for hours.
Yeah.
if you
So
want.
I love that answer.
Yeah.
That is got some chill.
Thank
on
you
my
for
arm.
your. I don't want to
I'm
say
very
candid,
motivated.
but
I'm
thank
very
you for being
motivated.
candid.
Yeah.
That was very candid of you. We appreciate that.
I might vote for you.
If you want to, Mayor 2022. But yeah, those are the real honest discussions that we need to be having beyond caring about each other, because I think we do that innately, and I think we do that well.
Right.
So what's next?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Thank you so
very
much for that answer.
Before
Love
we
it.
go, we're going to give you a chance to shout out any local businesses, local people, anything.
Friends,
that you would like
family,
to shout
anybody
out.
that you would love to say hey to.
Yeah, I mean, of course, naturally, my family, just wonderful, loving, supporting family, the entire downtown business community, and I mean entire downtown business community. It's not one single business that has come in and just kind of been a friendly face. It's everybody.
13th
They-
the 1st.
Completely. They are excited about the new kid on the block, and the fact that it's not been a competition. It's been an absolute, the high tide rises all the boats type situation.
That's awesome.
So, it's not that I want to leave anybody out. It's that there's too many that I
Right.
can't catch
No,
them
we
all.
understand that.
And I am just so happy with my decision to be exactly where I'm at right here on the 900 block.
We love to hear that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you for being on. We appreciate it. We
Yes.
appreciate it very much.
I
We're
appreciate
American
the
Journeyman.
beer.
Oh yeah.
Thank you,
we
River
have
Watch Brewery.
plenty. You
We
can
take
take more. Yeah.
Yeah, one more shout out to Riverwatch Brewery. Thank you for the beer.
Yes, thank you.
And we will see you guys next week.
We're out.